Yeah. So apparently, Ethan, I guess Ethan saw what was going on with Andrew Callahan last night, and he made this video. I guess on his phone. I watched like a minute of it. I think it's related to Andrew Callahan. I could be wrong. Let's see what we got here.
Here I am, guys, doing my first ever cell phone video. This has never been done before. In fact, I'm out here on vacation with my fam. The kids are asleep.
How long is this vacation? Where is he? I wish I could take a long vacation like that.
Everyone's asleep. And listen, I had something on my mind. So I said, hey, I got a cell phone. I think I could just upload it directly. And I got something that I really want to get your guys' opinion on. I tweeted out something today that was in effect saying something like famous men should not have random sex with anyone, especially fans and when alcohol's involved.
Yeah, I just disagree with that fundamentally. Alcohol, when alcohol's involved, if you're the same level of drunk, I don't care. I think we'll be very clear about that. At the end of the day, first of all, I would say the fact that he just said famous men, like, why not famous people? And it's a small thing, but why not famous people? Right? It's a real thing. Like, if you were going to hold this boundary to women as well, I'd say, like, okay, I'm more with you because at least you're being consistent. But I will say that it leads to an overall narrative of treating women like babies. We have to be very careful of doing that. The reality is that men who have money or fame, those are attractive qualities to women sometimes. And they may want to be with that person. That happens a lot. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's a difference between me saying I'm popular and powerful. If you do something for me, I'll give you something. If you sleep with me, I'll pay. Or, well, not like I'm paid. Well, that is one of them. But like, if I'm a big content creator. If you sleep with me, I will platform you. That's like an abusive dynamic, I think. Definitely, 100%. Like Harvey Weinstein. If I'm like, if you don't sleep with me, I'll destroy your career. That's an abusive power dynamic. Me being like, I have money and I'm famous. You know what I mean? Unless it's like sex work and you're paying them for some kind of consensual arrangement. But I'm famous. You know what I mean? Do you want to fuck me? And they're like, yeah, I like famous guys. Who cares? Women are intelligent creatures. They are. I'm not joking. Women are intelligent creatures that can make up their own minds. They have autonomy over themselves as long as the age range is solid, poggers. So if a woman wants to sleep with a guy because he has money and power, who cares? That's her right. And, to say like men shouldn't be, well, what about the women that want to, that aren't under duress? I understand like being a fan, but being a fan is not a mental disorder. Now, maybe it should be. Maybe being a fan of like Papa Gut, maybe you should be diagnosed with a mental disorder. But the reality is if you're an adult or within like a reasonable age range and you are deemed consenting by the state, you can do whatever you want as within reason. You can't start fucking stabbing people. But that's it. It's very simple, because if you decided to not let somebody engage with a rich, famous guy, you're honestly promoting this goes down like a really bad road. Because for one, what you're doing is you're promoting some form of like classism. Now you're saying that like poor women can't date rich men because there's too much of a power dynamic. That is kind of classist. If we go fundamental with power dynamic, like now white people can't date black people because of systemic racism. Men and women can't date because men have a physical power dynamic. Rich people can't date poor people because there's the financial power dynamic. We should be careful of power dynamics. We should have conversations about them. I don't think that somebody with a lot of money should be able to say, you have to do whatever I want just because you're in a relationship with me and I make all the money. I think that that's abusive. But fundamentally, you should be able to sleep with people. If a woman like we have groupies. Nobody ever calls out groupies for like metal bands or rock bands or rap bands or any of that. It's only when it comes to like online engagements. So I think it's a cop-out to say that famous men should never have random hookups, especially involving alcohol with fans. I mean, again, if they're on the same level of drunk, I don't care. If one person's super drunk, the other one's not drunk at all, that's a problem. But to do that, I think, is a cop-out. I think it hurts the conversation. I think it's very lazy. And I understand, if I'm going to be charitable to Ethan, it comes from a place of, like, wanting to do good. I get it. But it's very lazy. It doesn't promote the conversation that needs to be had with people. Because, like, it's nice to say, I don't think this should happen, but it's going to happen. And we need to teach men and women the correct ways to navigate these situations, regardless of which one has the more of the power, whether it's a woman or the man.
And there was some people that agreed, obviously, but there was a lot of people I saw this comment, well, what's the point of becoming famous then? And that kind of begs the question, like, well, if the reason you're becoming famous is for the sole reason of having lots of random sex with women, that's going to be a problem.
Well, listen, first of all, I don't think that anybody becomes famous just to have sex with random women. But as a man, as a person, like being famous contributes to your overall value as a person. And women, I'm not saying that only men get value from being famous. I'm not going down this manosphere bullshit route. I hate the manosphere. Because women do the same thing too. People who want to be financially successful and whatnot, they just want to be financially successful. And one of the things that comes with it is like easier time getting a partner, for sure. In some ways, sexually. I think from an emotional love perspective, it's very difficult for people with a lot of money to find love because that money clouds it. But it is a factor, and I don't think those young people or whoever's responding to him saying that, I don't think that they obviously fleshed out their perspective or Ethan boiled it down to make it easier to fight against it. But like it is a factor, no? Factor of becoming famous is to be a little bit more dateable. That'd be like if I decided to lose weight just so I could fuck girls as one of my factors. That doesn't make me gross. That means I'm like, hey, I want to be considered more attractive and valuable to society. You know what I mean? That's why I'm trying to gain weight. Because girls, they need to leave me alone. Girls are too turned on by me. They're too attractive to me. It's a problem. So now, especially that I'm married, you know what I mean? Girls, you guys have. I think all women have a mental disorder where they only like married men. That's a you problem.
And listen, I'm saying this, man. I'm having friends who are being basically.
He's really sweating here. It looks like
doing horrible things, right, and getting called out.
Potentially horrible. I mean, I just want to be clear. Like he's talking about Andrew Callahan. I think it gets. I'd rather stick with like. But okay.
And it's happening way too much. This is happening way.
I just watched the Andrew Callahan video, so he had explicitly admitted that he did those things. That'd be one thing, but we're kind of still in that like
too much. And I think to myself, how is it that there's so many men, famous men, who are still doing this shit despite knowing that that this is a problem, that it's going to come out, right?
It's not a problem, though. That's the thing. It's like forcing somebody is a problem, but just the mere existence of it is not a problem.
Right?
Not everybody is fucking Harvey Weinstein. That guy's a scumbag. Ozzy Osbourne used to fuck around with fans. Is he like a fucking predator now? Yeah.
And that you can't fuck around. You can't make mistakes like that. And yet people are still out there being scumbags. And it just makes me think, like, if you're a famous guy, I hate to tell you, but I think the one night stands, I think it's got to be out.
Why? If it's a consensual and this is the see this, and I want to say, like, I get it. Ethan is a nice guy. I do understand. It seems like he's coming from a really nice place. He seems to be like ticking like a fucking time bomb here, okay? And I have ticks too, so I understand when you're stressed, you could tick more. His seemed to have like some kind of a throat tick. Mostly I have like a little bit more of like a blinking tick and stuff like that. But like if it's consent, we have, this is one of the problems though, because this is called overcorrecting. We've gone from a place where we need people of power, usually it's men, but people in power, to be more aware of the power dynamic that they hold, and they should be more aware of that, and they should operate with better, like, you know, more intelligently, more emotional intelligence. But again, women are people with autonomy. They have the right to make their own decisions. And if a woman wants to have a one-night stand with a guy, for whatever reason, that's her prerogative. And we have to, like, this is getting to a point where it's, first of all, it's putting too much responsibility on the man, which I think to some degree kind of treats women like ignorant children, which I think is a bad social conversation to have. And it removes some autonomy. Well, that's what it is. It removes autonomy for women to make the decision, or if they do make the decision, to say you're too stupid to make the decision, right? Because we're like, well, you know, men, if you make a lot of money, you can't sleep around. What does that mean for the women who decide to sleep with you? What you're saying is like, well, it's still the guy's fault, which means you're removing autonomy from that woman to be equal in the ability to make that decision, as long as she wasn't coerced in some capacity. We're just talking about a hookup in this scenario. So,
and the reason I say that is to protect you from doing something horrible to somebody.
And if you said like, hey, listen, you probably shouldn't be fucking around once you have money and you're famous, because people, unfortunately, sometimes, and I'm not saying this is an Andrew Callahan at all, sometimes will do they'll try to Me Too you falsely. That's a real thing. That would, sorry, that could happen. You know what I mean? Like with the way the online narrative is right now, where like anybody can come forward and make any claim, and you could be fucked. So from my advice is like, yeah, just knock off the shenanigans and the tomfoolery, because there are people out there that will weaponize consensual interactions against you. They might, and try to make you seem like a bad guy. For sure, that definitely can happen. But that's not. But you should still have the right to do it if you want. It's just in this social atmosphere that's been completely destroyed. You need to protect yourself. You know. So about Justin Rowland, I don't know who that is. Did they also have an allegation?
And doing something you will regret.
I don't even want to.
And it seems that there's a high enough percentage of women who are regretting these hookups.
Who cares if they regret it? Rick and Morty co-creator Justin Rowland faces domestic. Oh my god, domestic violence. I don't even want to. I don't even think I have like the capacity to get into that. That's domestic assault is way different from sexual assault though. Like hitting. I'm not even gonna get into it. I don't have the fucking energy to. Sorry, it's just,
high enough percentage of women who are regretting these hookups.
It doesn't matter. This is the problem. You regretting a hookup doesn't mean anything to do with consent. There have been women that I've slept with before or interacted with before because I felt bad, because like we met up and then they were kind of unattractive. They had very deceptive pictures, and I slept with them, and I regret it. But I wasn't sexually assaulted. It's just a regrettable interaction. Those happen. That's life. If you lean too much into this narrative, and what the implication here is that if you regret something, it is now sexual assault. Like, you're destroying the public conversation about this topic.
Who feel coerced, who feel like they can be manipulated into doing something they don't want to do.
Again, there's a difference between manipulation and them doing something that they don't want to do, but still consensually doing it because they like the person. We're not speaking specifically about Andrew Callahan at all. We're speaking in a very fundamental capacity. Okay, coercion is wrong. Like, we know that. That's like forcing someone to have sex with you through some kind of like force or threats, right? I'm going to look up the legal definition of coercion. Like that's like the practice of persuading someone to do something by using force or threats. Coercion is like objectively sexual assault. However, somebody being like, well, this guy's kind of famous and I like him. I don't really want to show him my tits, or I don't really want to fuck him, but I'm going to. Like, I'm going to consent to it because I like this guy. That's not on the person that slept with you. If you sleep with somebody, you may not have wanted to do it, but you consented to it because you liked the person. That's not sexual assault. What's going on, Linda? How you doing? You need to set better boundaries and not sleep with people if you don't want to sleep with them. And I know that's hard to say, but just because you don't want to sleep with somebody doesn't mean it's not consensual. Again, I've slept with people I didn't want to, but I consented to it. Okay? You know, it doesn't make it sexual assault unless there's a force. Regret doesn't equal non-consent.
And I just keep seeing the same story over and over and over again. And it's like, what are we going to do about this? Because
have a better conversation about the online atmosphere of sexual assault.
You would think that something would be changing by now, but it's like the same headline over and over and over again. I think that famous men need to stop having random hookups.
Bro, again, keep in mind, he keeps saying famous men, not famous people. If he said famous people, I wouldn't agree with him, but he would be more consistent. But I feel like, and I understand men are the ones that are usually famous, like women are more attracted to fame and financial power than men are. So women are going after famous men more than men are going after famous women. But just in mind, fundamentally, this is an exercise where this is a situation where I would say, like, you should be saying famous people shouldn't be going after non-famous people. I disagree. And I said going after sounds intense. Shouldn't be engaging with. You should be saying famous people shouldn't be engaging with non-famous people, because now you're setting a double standard for no reason with women. And it kind of leads me to think like this is one of those instances, in my opinion, where Ethan means very well, but he's doing something where he's basically treating women like babies. He's setting a double standard. He's treating women like babies, honestly, unintentionally. Why specifically? Why shouldn't famous women do the same thing? What are women just so much better than men? Are non-famous women too stupid to defend themselves? Like, these are the implications that you're kind of making when you say these things.
It's just a recipe for disaster and pain and hurt, and it's gonna fuck your life up too, right? It's just not worth it. And so this comment comes up like, what's the point of becoming famous then? Well, then therein lies the problem. If you're becoming famous to sleep with a bunch of women, well, that used to be cool. And that used to be a reason to become famous. But
It's cringe, but it's still legal. It's fine. Who cares?
now you can go ahead and do that, but it's going to come out and you're going to hurt people.
Maybe the hurt people thing. I don't know.
And you're going to end up sleeping with people who were influenced by, who are either a fan of yours,
Who cares?
who were too drunk.
Again, drunkenness is not the same as being a fan. If you are talking to a person, whether you're a guy or a girl, and they're fucking drunk and you're not, don't do anything. Because if you're the same level of drunk or you're both drunk, I mean, I don't know how you could gauge the exact same level. But if you're both drunk, that's different. You're both dumb as shit. You're both, in general, I would say don't drink alcohol, to be honest with you. I'm just being real. You shouldn't party and drink alcohol because you're putting yourself at risk. And I think that you should be incredibly careful because that could be very dangerous and you need to protect yourself. But like when it comes to two people being the same level of drunk, you have the ability to do it. It's as long as you're an adult, it's consensual, blah, blah, blah. You get my point. That's different from fame. Okay, if a girl wants to be with a guy or a guy wants to be with a girl because that person has money or they have fame and they're attracted to that, which is a thing that a lot of women especially are attracted to, that's their prerogative. The woman has every right to make that decision. She doesn't get to turn around and say, oh, I was sexually assaulted now just because of what. And again, we're not talking about Andrew Callahan. We're talking about fundamentally just because she regrets it or just because she's angry now. Maybe like she thought he was going to be with him if she slept with him, but he decided not to. That's you having to set better boundaries. I don't know what to tell you.
Who were influenced by your power and aura and just general fame.
Who cares?
And so I feel like with fame and power, there needs to be some giving up of responsibility, or there needs to be some more acceptance of responsibility.
Yes, I agree with that. With fame or power comes more responsibility in the sense of you not leveraging that wealth or that fame against somebody. Again, there's a difference between being more attractive because you have money or fame versus using your money or fame to like take advantage of someone in some capacity. Like if you have a lot of money and you tell a girl, I really don't care. If you have a lot of money and you pay a girl for like prostitution, it's illegal, but I don't really care. What I'm more concerned with, that's just a whole fucked situation. That could definitely lead to some kind of abuse. OnlyFans shit, whatever, who cares? And in those legal spaces where it's like more moderated, I think in Las Vegas, like whatever, who cares? I don't know. That's fucked. I don't know how, like, it's like prostitutes can be open to a lot of like sexual abuse and shit. So that's a whole fucking situation. Let's go keep it to the fame thing. Well, no, if you're rich and you are with somebody that doesn't have a lot of money and you're like, you better do this for me or I'm not gonna do this. I don't know. That's like kind of scummy. If you treat her like shit just because you have money, and like that's shitty. You shouldn't be, or if treat the person like shit just because you have money, that's shitty. You should respect people even if they don't have money. Or if you have fame and you like, I will platform you if you suck my wiener. Like that's wrong. Right? That's obviously very incorrect. But you just being famous or have money, that's not a reason to. Like you should just make sure you're not abusing that power.
Like with the power, with the money, with the fame, you have extra responsibility as a man to take extra care with your sexual partners because, listen, the truth is that women have been used and abused for a long fucking time.
Sure.
And it feels super weird that men are now having to be held accountable for what they're doing.
What?
And y'all, I guess, aren't ready for that. But I'm just saying, you're not going to get away. You don't get away with it anymore. So like this advice is as much for the men, it's for the men to protect themselves and to protect the women. I'm saying you got to meet someone, get to know them a little bit, make sure that you're both sober and that you've got enthusiastic.
Well, what this sounds more to me like is we need to try to gravitate away from hookup culture. Hookup culture is a big problem. Hookup culture is a big problem. That's where like there's a greater issue. Is when you have a situation where people are getting together, they know each other for 10 minutes, and then they're having sex because you don't get time to get to know somebody and to explore boundaries with that person and to see what both of you like. And it could lead to some really like fun, like just frustrating engagements. I personally, like when I would sleep around, I would date a girl for a while. We would usually hook up on the first date, but I would date a girl for like a while. We'd sleep around for a bit, and then like we'd stop hanging out after a couple months. That's how I would interact with that. But this is a conversation against hookup culture, not a conversation against men who have money fucking around with girls consensually.
consent, because it's just not worth it. I don't think a lot of these guys doing this necessarily want to be hurting people, right?
Yeah,
I think
agree
they
with
get
that.
caught up in the moment. I think they probably have a lot of regrets about how they acted.
That's fair. So listen, this is one of those things where like I feel like some people would shit on Ethan. I'm trying not to, because when I read some of this, when he says stuff like this, like I understand what he's saying. Like I get it, and I respect. This is such a hard conversation to have. So like it's one of those things where I disagree with a lot of what he's saying, but I also don't think that if we ever did have a conversation, which we probably never would. Yeah, Papa Pimp. If we ever did have a conversation, I don't think that he would like shit on me for my take on it. This is hard, man. Talking about sexual boundaries and shit on live on the internet is, or in general, in publicly, is difficult, and it can leave you open to a lot of like criticism about getting things correct. And when he says stuff like this, like where this to me speaks to like historically where there are men who put women into situations and they don't realize that they're putting them into situations, and later on they get more educated about sexual assault and they're like, holy fuck, did I really do that? That sucks. You know, I get that. Like we were talking about before, we used the example of like a scenario where there's a guy and a girl and they're hanging out on a couch, and the guy's like, hey, do you want to go to the bedroom? And he obviously wants to have sex, and the girl knows that, and she's like, no, I'd rather stay here. And so to that guy, that might communicate to him like, oh, I guess she's fine having sex on the couch. Rather with the girls, like, no, I don't want to sleep with you. And it's a difference between men and women, where men tend to are more direct and need to be more, you need to be more direct towards them. And women are more emotionally intelligent and kind of can read through the lines a little better. It's like, those are the things where it's like, that's why explicit consent of like, hey, can I kiss you? Or can I steal a kiss from you? Can I steal a kiss from you? I know it sounds cringe, and you might think, oh, I'll turn them off. You can figure out a way to say it's sexy, and also you're better turning somebody off than putting them in a situation where they're going to regret it. Even if that's not sexual assault, I would never want to put a girl in a situation where they would regret something. You know, so you kind of have to operate like these are new things. This isn't like everybody. It's not like I'm fucking perfect either. You know, we've all been there. You know. But those are the conversations you want to have, because that's where we're at. You want to be smart about that. I understand that message, because it can be tough. You know, that's why if you are usually a guy, you could say something to the girl like, hey, listen, if you don't want to do anything, just say no, and I'm totally fine with it. That's not a bad thing to say to a girl. Say it to her at dinner. You take her out for a dinner before you guys hook up. Say like, hey, listen, if we ever go do something and you don't like it, just say no. Well, I'm going to stop. That could be very assuring. You have to do that? No, but it's good to do that, because why would you want to engage with somebody who may not want to do something with you, you know?
I don't know, though. Maybe I'm assuming too much. I don't know, right? I don't know how these people feel or what they think about. But I do know that there's a lot of victims of women who are in the wake of these famous men being traumatized, being abused, having lots of regret, being coerced.
Sure. Like we said, like coercion obviously is wrong. There are people who are regretting, but the problem is that the conversation is this. There are people in these interactions, and it seems more like women. There's a lot of women who regret sleeping with some of the guys they slept with. Maybe because they thought they would date them. Maybe they just feel yucky. Maybe the guy's an asshole. Maybe the guy was a fuckboy. They fell for it. I don't know. And in an online sphere, what the conversation needs to be is what we just said. Create those comfortable spaces so that you have more express consent. Sometimes we lean into it too much. And then like everything is grooming, everything is sexual assault, everything is this. And the online narrative is it's running away. And like now we need to hold stern to like the good message and not let the regret become rape. We need to be very strong about that. Because if not, it's going to continue to run away with it. You have young people who write the narratives online. Those are the people on Twitter. Those are the people on TikTok. Those are children. And they're telling us how the world works. I'm 32, and the problem is you have a lot of young people saying this, and then you have a lot of older people just affirming it, be like, yep, that's true, and they don't really care because they don't want to be canceled by 14-year-old Becky on Twitter. Or, 14-year-old Ryland. I don't know. It's fucking weird names I came up with. That's why, as an adult on the internet, you have a higher responsibility to be like, no, this is not this. You're being silly right now. To not let people run away with narratives. It's very important. And I'm not saying Ethan's feeding into it. I think he's just struggling to find his center. But, like, that's very important to me.
So what do we do about it? I mean, if you're a famous man coming up, you can't do it. I mean, it's too risky. I think the dynamic of you being famous and powerful and them being a fan and knowing who you are, it's too powerful of a
I
combination.
don't think so.
So
I don't think it's too powerful. I would eat a mile of Lucy Lawless's shit just to fucking lick her asshole. I don't care if you say I don't care if you say that's a power dynamic issue. It's Xena the warrior princess, bro. That's the reality. Lucy Lawless play that black character? That would be weird. Anyway. People are adults. They can consent to engaging with rich people. It's the truth.
like you can't exploit that. It's just
And there's a difference between exploitation and like just vibing. Hey, I'm a guy that's famous and rich. Cool. I want to fuck you. It's not exploitation. You being a fan of me is not my problem. As a man, I would say try to get away from that because some people will try to deplatform you based on like the dumb shit that doesn't exist. But we got to keep it balanced in our perspective.
It sucks, right? It sucks because you can't go out there and be a rascal and fuck everyone. You know what I mean? But which is like apparently the dream of men. That's why they become famous. You know, it's just it sucks, right? It sucks because you can't go out there and be a rascal and fuck everyone. You know what I mean?
You can.
But
you can be a rascal flats.
Which is like apparently the dream of men. That's why they become famous. I didn't know that.
It's a factor. I'm not gonna lie about it. Listen, I'm a dog, and I am a reformed dog. Okay, I got defleed. I got a nice haircut. I got my collar on me. Beautiful owner. I'm trying to go down the straight path, virtuous path. But I used to be a fucking animal, and that's it. I never sexually assaulted any women. I fucked around, and they liked it just as much as me. There's times where I fucked girls I didn't want to, but it was consensual. I get it. I would say that just from like not even from like for one thing, protect yourself. We'll save any text messages, I guess, but also like be more careful when you're engaging. But also from like an overall perspective, if you want to settle down, have a nice family, try not to fuck around too much because it can make it difficult. Be. You gotta be on the straight path, brother. It's better for you as a person. But yeah, it doesn't mean you can't fuck around. I mean, hey, listen, it was fun. It was fun while it lasted. I'm very happy with where I am, but that's hey, listen. Sometimes you gotta sow some of those wild oats. That's just life. That's just life, brother.
I mean, I know that there's like dudes out there, but I find that odd that like you become famous just for that. It's just like, okay, bro.
I don't think anybody's coming famous just to have sex. I think it's like one of the things where like I'd like to be able to fuck around, blah blah blah. Like I don't think anybody's doing it just for that one thing.
That's really it. That's all.
Watching porn in high school made me scared to talk to girls. I feel you. Porn's also toxic. That's another factor. It kind of teaches you the wrong. I feel like that we need better sexual health education for younger people. Because people are educating themselves through pornography and adult content, and it teaches, I think, really incorrect boundaries and stuff, and that's a whole problem in and of itself. I think that teaches men to do things that they be too forceful, and women to take it. People who engage in porn, and then you get older and go like, "Wow, that's not what's supposed to happen. I'm not supposed to fuck the girl that said no." You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, people are like, "Fuck." I think porn has like a really negative impact on our society because back in the day, you just look at the titties in a magazine. Now you go from looking at boobies to like hardcore like whoa. And she's like, no, I don't want it, And then all of a sudden, what does that signal to a 15-year-old boy watching like hardcore stuff? It's like, oh, I guess like if she says no, maybe she still does want it. And then to the girl, maybe she's like, maybe then the girl watching that, they might be like, oh, well, is this what I'm supposed to, how I'm supposed to interact with this? And then you kind of get older and you're like, oh shit, that wasn't right. There's a lot of problems. A lot of it comes down to the incorrect conversations about consent and sexual interactions and stuff.
There is to life. But yeah, you're not getting away with it. Take them out to dinner. Get to know them a little bit. And then you got guys who travel around, right? Who go city to city. I don't know, man. Jerk off. I don't know.
Again, if the girls want to sleep with you.
Just beat off, bro. Get some hotel porn. I know it's expensive, but you're rich.
You could just look at your phone, but
Hell, even get a prostitute. Well, I think that's fine, right? I mean, at least you know.
Hey, see, Ethan's right there with me with the prostitute thing. It's hard because like you paying them, and I think that you probably could do paid sex, like correctly, but then you're also potentially putting them in like a rough spot. That's a tough conversation to have. I would say maybe don't get a prostitute though.
Know what's going on there if you hire a prostitute. I don't know
See?
what the solution is, but what's happening right now is
we're both exploring. We're all both exploring.
Not working. It is not working. So I don't know if this was a crazy tweet. Is this a crazy thought or a sane thought? What do you guys think? Because I'm getting sick of seeing this happening. I'm getting sick of seeing people that I did respect have their lives and careers ruined because they couldn't keep from being pervs. And I'm sick of seeing young women who are being traumatized because they're being coerced into doing things they don't want to do.
Yeah. Again, let's be careful with the usage of the word coercion. But here's what I will say, and it's interesting. I will tell you one thing. I feel like the biggest thing that separates me and Ethan from this perspective is that I don't think Ethan's ever been like a dog. And like, I think, which is not like a bad thing, but it kind of keeps you out of that perspective of understanding the mindset of a dude that's just like fucking around, you know? Because I think, I don't know. I've slept with a good amount of women. I don't know. I feel like it gives you a little bit of a different perspective on these topics. Like, for instance, like a lot of the times women will do it because they like you, you know? Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of rappers like Lil Baby who just hire prostitutes because it's easier for them to just pay for it. That's fair. Honestly, I've been there, not physically, but sometimes it's just easier to pay for it because you don't have to deal with all the bullshit. Well, you're not supposed to have to do it. Okay, that's part of the $40, guys. $60, guys. Yeah, no, I get that because it's just easier to kind of like, okay, this is easy. I don't have to, do any of the bullshit. Yeah.
What the fuck is going on, dude? Somebody's got to figure this shit out. Ugh. But it's not, shit has changed. It's different now. You can't go out there and just fuck everybody. Hey, I think men need to realize like what a powerful thing sex can be.
Sure.
Like, you have to respect the power and the emotional connection that happens there and how violated somebody can feel who like offered you up their body in that sense only to be kind of like discarded or used or to regret it.
That part doesn't matter to me at all. That's true. You should be aware of that because when it comes to that dynamic, usually women will like sleep with a guy because like they like the guy and they want the guy to be with them and they might feel like they have to. And then sometimes the guy was just trying to look for some punani and she gets discarded. That sucks. And I think that that's shitty from a man. You should be very explicit about how, like, if you're just looking to fuck around, don't lie to a girl and lead her on. But this casual sex interaction, you regretting it because you didn't get what you wanted, is not the same thing as somebody coercing you into sex. Those are two wildly different things.
There needs to be some understanding of that. And I'm not being a prude, right? Like, I'm cool with casual sex. I'm not like a puritanical. I don't think people need to get married or anything. I mean, fuck on the first date. I don't care. I'm just saying.
Well, that's the problem, though. Fuck on the first. Listen, do whatever you want, but like that is one of the problems. Is like not dating or not getting to know somebody enough before you make those. Before you sleep together.
A specific issue with famous men. Because there's a magnetic pull that you need to be accountable for and that you need to treat with a special care.
I don't know what he means by that.
And it's in a way, maybe this isn't a good analogy, but like, if you're a trained martial artist, okay, world champion, you know what I mean? Like 3-time black belt, you know how to kill a man with one punch. If you get into a bar fight, you cannot unleash your full fury because if you go for like a neck throat punch and they end up dying, guess what? You're going to fucking jail.
Well, I don't think that you can apply this at all. I mean, first of all, I'm pretty sure legally martial artists have to register their hands as like weapons. I could be wrong about that, but there's a difference. I understand that comparisons aren't exactly the same. That's why they're called comparisons, analogies. Yeah. But I think that there's a difference between a man who is a seasoned fighter who could kill someone in a bar fight versus just a guy with a penis talking to a girl. I don't see the comparison there. I understand that men fundamentally have a physical power dynamic over women. Just in this is like fundamentally a seasoned fighter has a power dynamic over a drunkard at a bar. But these are two very, 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 very different things here. Is that a misconception? Do MMA fighters register their hands as weapons? While it's true that most of the world you do not have to register your deadly hands, it turns out the fact that you do have that training is extremely likely to come up in any court case. All right, so you don't actually have to register your hands, but it's going to come up in a court case. But like if a guy at a bar tries to stab you with a knife and you or a beer bottle and you beat him up, that's your problem. You know, you beat that's the guy that got beat up's problem. You know what I mean? So sorry, want to correct the record on that that very dangerous misinformation I put out there. All right. Okay.
Whereas if it was someone who was untrained, you could, go crazy. You're not going to kill the guy, right? You can fight with all your passion. You don't have to worry about holding back. But if you have the potential to kill someone, you know how to do it, and you can do it easily. You don't do it, right? And that's common knowledge of people who are highly trained martial artists. Huh? They know that. Sure. And in a way, again, I don't know if this is a stupid analogy, but it's kind of the same thing, right? If you're famous and powerful and you go out, you have this edge. You have this magneticism. People are going to be more pulled to you, especially.
That's important. If you are somebody that's like famous, you have more pull towards you. Understand that person wants to be pulled towards you. We're doing a fundamental. I'm not talking about specific anything. Fundamentally, if you're a famous person, and usually women like fame, women will like you more because you're famous. There's nothing wrong with that, with you being famous. There's nothing wrong with the woman being attracted to you for that fame, right? Let's not yuck your yums, That if a person is attracted to fame, you cannot, we shouldn't be denying their ability to engage in that attraction. Like, there's a responsibility on both parties. You can abuse that dynamic, but just the existence of it is an abuse. A girl wanting to do more for you because you're famous, that's not abusive. You saying you'll use your power against them or for them if they engage with you, that's abusive. That's like Harvey Weinstein shit. Okay? But them just wanting to engage with you more or more quickly because you're famous, that's just life. And you need to teach, in this case, women to set better boundaries so that they don't get used. And realistically speaking, if a guy actually likes you and you withhold sex with him in the first few dates, there's a better chance that you'll be with that person, to be absolutely honest with you. Like, men like to have sex, but a woman withholding sex a little bit, not for until marriage, that might be crazy, but not doing it on the first date. If a guy isn't going to be with you because you won't sleep with them on the first date, they never wanted to be with you in a long-term capacity. Just understand that. Let's be very explicit about that. That's a fact. Men respect women who withhold sex. Not for fucking 3 years, but I'd say maybe second, third, fourth date. Make them work a little bit for it. That's real. If a guy won't, if a guy's not gonna, if a guy that had the intention of dating you is not going to not date you because he won't put it on the first date. So keep that in mind.
Fans of yours. And so in the same way, you got to be careful with what you've got there. Does that make sense? Sure. What do y'all think? Is it crazy? I don't know.
I think you're fucking cringe, Ethan.
You know what I mean? I don't fucking know. But I do know is this was one shot, one take. I'm going to upload it to my channel. And if y'all got a problem with it, please don't unsubscribe because I cherish and need every single one of you.
I know he's joking there, but there's like a realness to that. It's like, guys, please, I'm just trying to say my piece on this topic. And I'm going to say I respect Ethan for this, by the way, because this is hard. Talking about this topic is difficult and it needs to be dealt with care. And I think that he has, even if I disagree with some of the things he's saying, that's the thing. That's what I'm really trying this year. We're starting off brand new, and Ethan gave his perspective on sexual assault, and I disagree with some of it. And I think that I'd be crazy if I could have a talk with him. Probably will never happen. I understand why, but I respect him non-antagonistically throwing his hat into the ring in an intelligent way. And I don't, I feel like some people would just start screaming because you don't get this, you don't understand this. But it's like, oh, we're all we're all taking the message in and we're all trying to have a nice conversation. So, sure.
I'm sorry. If I said something wrong, I'm sorry. And I love you. Please don't hate me. I didn't do anything wrong.
Beautiful stuff.
Okay? I washed my hands. I absolved myself. Thank you. See you guys in Vatican City. Here I am.
All right. Yeah. Like I said, nice, interesting capture of Ethan right here. Like I said, yeah. I mean, listen, I can respect him talking about the topic. I disagree with some of what he said, some of the ways that he said it. But I think it's cool that if we're going to talk about these topics, that it's not sensationalized and we have like reasonable conversations around consent, because it's super duper important. And this is what it looks like. It looks like large creators that have a lot to lose by talking about these topics, and regardless of the direction, giving their perspectives on the topic, because it's important, because it is important. And like the reality is that fat fucks online, not excluding myself from that, are the ones that have a lot of pull. It's unfortunate. It really is. You know, big fat fucking assholes that are like 30 plus online. They're the ones that have the most impact on the conversation. Which is probably a bad thing overall, but it's a thing. So it's something to be talked about correctly. Also, I turned it to an 11-minute video. 11.5-minute video into like a fucking 40-minute talk, didn't I? Oopsie poopsie. Oopsie poopsie. To be absolutely honest with you, I think a lot of the proper conversation, like I think a lot of like the level-headedness and reasonable nature that Ethan comes off of here is because he's not on his show right now, and like he's by himself. He's not talking to all. He doesn't feel like he has a ton of like pressure on him in the moment. He can kind of say his perspective without getting bombarded by people saying "fuck you." He has the ability to say it without getting stun locked. I don't know how reasonably he'll be able to carry this onto his show.
I want Papa Gut to pee on my face, but just as a friend. There's nothing weird about that. I want him to pee on my face.